President Muhammadu Buhari has reminded Nigeria police of his high expectations, particularly in the provision of requisite police security that will engender a stable security space ahead of the general elections and guarantee the credibility of the exercise. Buhari said this at the commissioning of critical operation assets procured by the Nigeria Police Force in Abuja. Arise correspondent Ferdinand Duroha reports.
In spite of the fact that he has just about 4 months to go, President Muhammadu Buhari has commissioned a wide range of operational assets acquired by the Nigeria Police Force for strategic and tactical operational deployments, particularly in light of the upcoming 2023 general elections. The equipment includes operational vehicles, crowd control and anti-riot gadgets, and high-capacity computers. Buhari says making funds available for the equipment demonstrates his commitment to bequeathing an efficient police force to Nigerians, capable of propagating democratic ideals. He also warned law enforcement agencies that all eyes will be on them to provide a safe space for people to cast their votes.
My pledge to bequeath to the nation a democratic culture in which the police will not only be apolitical and impartial during the 2023 general election, but in which the process will be peaceful and secure, and the outcome truly reflective of the free will of the students. This vision can best be achieved through an efficient police force, and I am delighted that the force leadership is advancing my vision in this regard.
Immediately after the commissioning, the Inspector General of Police convened a meeting with strategic police managers. He warned the officers that national security interests must override personal interests as plans are perfected on how to create enabling space for peaceful elections.
There are concerns that the current internal security realities in the country could impact on the peaceful electoral process and the credibility of the outcome of the 2023 general elections. In view of this, I charge you all to make concerted efforts towards stabilizing the internal security order and creating an enabling space for the peaceful conduct of the general election.
The IGP says newly commissioned equipment will be distributed to police commands based on threat and capacity assessments. The conference, which is the first for the year 2023, aims to review the internal security of the country and reassess the Nigeria Police Force's strategies towards the imminent 2023 general elections. Ferdinand Duroha, Arise News.
All right, a lot to chat about this morning, are you?
Yes, 11 days to the 25th of February 2023, the presidential and, the National Assembly elections taking place on that day. Very critical. And indeed, of course, we must also remember the 11th of March, which is the gubernatorial and the State House of Assemblies. Anyways, it's election season. And one of the state actors that play a very critical role in election or during elections is the Nigerian Police Force. Here, the president was launching or commissioning some of the armors. They included the equipment for crowd control, including arms, ammunition, tear gas, tasers, stun guns, pepper sprays, bulletproof vests. You see the patrol vehicles there as well, a repertoire of cars. And whilst doing this, he also reiterated and talked about the importance of the police in promoting free, fair and credible election, which he said he's still very much committed to. He also reminded them that the world will be watching. Now, in Nigeria, traditionally, we've seen over the years, 2015, 2019, the police play quite a critical role. We've seen some tensions and insecurity in spots across the country. We've even seen INEC offices being attacked. We've seen these over the past few months in the last year. And unfortunately, as we move closer, as we inch closer to the important date, we've seen a bit more in the rise in terms of insecurity. And this hasn't been helped, unfortunately, by some of the political parties and their surrogate spokespeople who sometimes stoke the tension with certain words. And that's why it's very important, even as part of national security, to watch the words that we say. But let's take a wider look. Some of the things that we're trusting the police to do at this time in ensuring internal security before, during, and after elections is, number one, the training of their personnel. So beyond buying these equipment, which is laudable, they must also ensure that their officers are trained, especially for this election cycle. A month ago, we had reports of a training exercise that had gone on to train policemen ahead of the elections. This is commendable. This must continue to be reiterated so that police officers are trained on how to control crowd without the incident of loss of lives. We saw what happened, I believe it was in Abeokuta the other day, with the young man being shot. Also must be taught how to be neutral. Policemen must be apolitical during election season. They must not be seen to be biased towards any party at all. They must be free, they must be fair at every point. Also, a recommendation in terms of the police force is to map out areas where there are already insecurity or tensions or risks of insecurity. INEC had talked about the electoral monitoring tool they were going to use to target areas that had incidents like this. The police should work with INEC to ensure this. What Nigerians want to see is that it is safe for people to go out there to exercise their civic duties, and the police, commending this launching of the equipment, but very importantly, we must see the police to be on board and apolitical.
So about you?
Now, it should be recalled that last year, October 2022, President Muhammadu Buhari attended a 3-day retreat organized by the Nigerian police in Owerri. And at that event, his speech focused on the fact that he would like to bequeath, after his tenure, to Nigeria, a police that is technology-driven, that is well-equipped, and he gave the police the charge that what he expected from them was professionalism. But in terms of equipment, going into an election year, he, as president of Nigeria, would do whatever was possible to make the equipment available. So, the event that happened yesterday at the Louis Edet House, Force Headquarters, with a parade of what the police described as critical assets for policing the 2023 election, would seem to be a confirmation, a fulfillment of the promise made by the president in Owerri in October 2022. And I think that that is noteworthy. The second thing to say is that in commissioning this equipment, the president pointed out again the same message he gave in Owerri, that he wants to leave behind credible elections, strong democracy, and a police force that is part of that process of making sure that Nigeria has an election this year that is reflective, I'm quoting him now, of the free will of Nigerian citizens. And I think that's important. Now, before now, along this line, the same president had set up a transition committee. He had also signed Executive Order number 14 of 2023 to provide a legal framework for the elections. What he has done again by equipping the police is a further confirmation of his express commitment to making sure that this election takes place and that it is peaceful and that it is fair and credible, as opposed to protestations to the contrary, to expectations to the contrary by certain elements within the political space. So consistently, the president continues to send that strong signal of his commitment. Now, his charge yesterday was not just to the police who were receiving the equipment, or critical assets, as they call them, but also to all service chiefs to ensure that they do well in this election. Well, that must be a place against the background that there is a body called the Interconsultative Agency Committee on Election Security that includes all the security agencies. I've been very critical of that interconsultative agency in terms of what they've been able to do. Attacks on INEC offices, attacks on political rallies. So what are they doing? Because the job of the security agencies is before, during, and after. Now, they've been given equipment, the police. Training is important so that they will use the equipment properly and deploy them properly. 2, training is not just physical training, it must also be psychological. We don't want a situation where policemen will start stealing tires of brand new cars. We'll be swapping the parts with their own mechanics. We'll be mismanaging the resources of the state. And that this equipment, this critical access, will be deployed for the purpose for which they have been procured. We also hope and we also expect that the assets will be used for the benefit of the Nigerian people, not against the Nigerian people. When the president says he wants credible election, it does not mean turn these assets into an attack on the same people whose free will all the security agencies are expected to protect. Finally, the president was praising Usman Baba, the Inspector General of Police, for having helped to promote the police reform agenda of his administration, where the president probably knows something that we don't know. But I don't see how Usman Baba, as Inspector General of Police, has promoted any police reform. Instead, under his watch, the police have not learned their lessons. In fact, the performance of the police has been worse than at any other time in contemporary history.
Okay, so 3 things. Number 1 will be assessment of the situation and the needs, sort of like a needs assessment before the election. What are the needs of the security agencies prior to the elections? Number 1 will be good remuneration, a good insurance scheme, and also equipment. That's the 3rd layer of it. And also welfare package. Has the welfare package be adequately dealt with? Because you see, like I say, culture will eat strategy for breakfast. You can't just provide only equipment without thinking of the welfare package, remuneration, and support to the police officers. And you expect them to act right on election day. Number 2 will be the outlook and societal relations. Because leading up to elections, the police will do a lot of more interfacing work. In fact, it's not about the heavy equipment machinery work that the police will do a lot on the election day. It will be community relations, community support, community assessment. And how the police can build that will be the police, 1, using its soft power, 2, building trust. And how can it build trust? To be able to nip crimes in the bud. And that's why you see when attacks against Labour Party supporters happen in Lagos, the quick reaction to that will bolster confidence in the citizens to go out and vote on election day. Because a lot of people have been looking at that attacks and say, okay, if they can't protect people that can go for a rally, how are we not sure that things are going to happen on election day? Quick societal response will be the audio tape that has gone viral about somebody threatening certain people to vote for a political party. Yes, the police chief has said, oh, we'll invite him. We heard he's been invited for questioning. But after questioning, what will be done? How would you follow up cases like that? Because it's things like that that brings about trust in police relations. And lastly, and most importantly, part of the 3 things on the tripod I will be saying, will be, the collaborative effort between the police and INEC, and also, and other police officers across the state. So the question is, knock on wood, you'll probably have 1 or 2 police officers per polling unit. What is the escalation chain in a scenario where somebody comes and snatches ballot boxes and shoots in the air? Probably the police, those 2 police officers at the polling unit might not be able to handle that, but how quick can they press a button to escalate that? That mechanism is also important because we saw that in the last elections. When people in a certain part of Lagos, around Amuwo-Odofin, their votes were burnt by miscreants, the police officers just waited there and looked at them while things happened. And that's why elections do not count. So we hope that this will change the dynamics of BVAS. But I think if we do those 3 things, the welfare, the community relations, and, the escalation mechanism, will go a long way.